if you mind to shortly just present yourselves, and first of all, tell us about what the Building and Woodworkers International does, what it is and what it does.
Okay. So I'm Ambet Yuson. I'm the General Secretary of the Building and Woodworkers International. BWI has 12 million members around the world. There are building workers, cement workers, wood and forestry workers. We are present in 140 countries. Basically, we are a global union who's building global solidarity among the building and woodworkers unions around the world, but particularly, of course, trying to help the different workers around the world to empower themselves, to fight for them, because many of our members are informal workers, temporary workers. There's no job security. Many of them are migrant workers, so we try to build support for them. But as a global union, we also engage global organizations like a multinational company. So we have global agreements with IKEA, to protect the different factory workers of IKEA industries around the world. We have a global agreement with the biggest top 10 construction companies, with Spanish construction companies, German companies. Now you will see in the news that they opened the Panama Canal, the extension of Panama Canal. Those were built by multinational companies from Spain, Italy, and Belgium. And we were able to help the union organize themselves. So we also deal with the World Bank. World Bank is giving loan to international, to big construction project. We are giving a loan. We are also dealing with the EBRD, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and the EIB, European Investment Bank, to give loans. Like the EU has given a loan to build the railway in the Baltic until 2020. So we deal with the bank and telling the bank, if you are lending money to governments, you have to make sure that the labor standards are complied. So this is our role.
There were two worldwide organizations for building and woodworkers prior to BWI, which was established in 2005. How is BWI different from them? Why was a new entity established?
No, in 2005 we agreed to merge it, to make this international organization stronger. So we have the IFBWW, and then of course there are some from the Christian unions, and then we merge into a bigger union. Now we are the biggest international organization for our sector, and we are doing very strong.
You work closely with many worker unions around the world, as well as with regional and international financial institutions. What are your relations with the World Bank and World Trade Organization?
Well, with the World Bank, we are basically doing a lot of international pressure, because the World Bank until now have not recognized the ILO standards as a mandatory for their lending policies. So
What is ILO? What is ILO?
The International Labor Organization, the convention. So the ILO convention, of course, states that There should be no child labor, there should be no discrimination, there should be freedom of association, the right to organize, and the right to collective agreement, and 8 more conventions, basically. So the idea, this should be mandatory in all lending facilities. You are lending money to the government. You know, when you lend money, you tell them they should respect the convention. They should not use child labor. It's your money. Otherwise, we can say, oh, World Bank money using child labor, you know. So they have not recognized all those conventions.
So you are working towards...
You're working, we are lobbying hard, and the problem is the World Bank is very backward. The regional development banks are more advanced. I would say the EBRD has recognition on this convention. The Inter-American Development Bank, because we use that tool to organize workers in the Panama Canal extension. So these are, but now we are in negotiation still with the World Bank. We are discussing a possibility of having a memorandum of agreement, making sure that in big infrastructure projects that labor standards are protected.
A large organization as BWI must be facing a huge pressure from large businesses who may be trying to bribe the organization or its individual representatives. How does the organization cope with it? Are there any measures undertaken to prevent it?
Okay. No, no one likes to bribe us because we are pro-worker, no? It's a lot of pressure because BWI actually are fighting the giants. We are one of the smallest international organization, global union, but we are fighting the giants, no? So of course we are fighting the big multinational companies like IKEA. We are fighting against Chinese multinational companies. Our unions in Africa are organizing this big Chinese multinational company who's now dominating the construction work in Africa. So we have a big fight with FIFA. You know, FIFA is a giant. It's a giant organization. It's a close organization, and there's a lot of cases on corruption. But we are fighting them to make sure that they respect workers' rights in Qatar, in Russia.
So you provide publicity for it?
Yeah, we raise the issue of the workers. But you know, this is interesting. You know, others would say why BWI is interested in sports, you know. This is a creative way how to make the public interested again, to understand again labor rights. If you say labor rights in the TV, this is old stuff, no? But if you put it in the context of sports, people understand, we have rights. Even football fans are supporting us. That football said, we love football, but we don't want football, and then 1,200 workers are dying in Qatar.
In the construction of
the stadiums.
Yeah. Football tournaments.
So this is actually the story, no?
Yeah.
So this is BWI's strategy is to use these popular issues that people understand and link it to labor rights. We also have a campaign, of course, in United Arab Emirates, in Abu Dhabi. They are building the Guggenheim Museum. Again, they will use migrant workers, and we are campaigning together with some artists like the global, the Gulf labor activists, They are artists who are trying to come, really racist campaigns. So we understand that, okay, you can have arts, you can have museum, but you build it not at the expense of the workers. So these are some of our campaigns. No, we are talking about FSC. No, all of us now consumers' rights. This wood should be. There should be no blood in this table, in these chairs. These are made without exploitation workers, and this is what we are using. We are engaging in FSC and PFC and telling them up, make sure that there's no blood. You did not use forced labor, you respected workers. When these trees are being cut from the forest and this wood is being manufactured, and this is what we are telling IKEA. So here we are discussing IKEA because IKEA has a plant here, there's no union, and there are suppliers, there's no union, so we will tell IKEA, hey, I thought you are a good company, you're only good in Sweden. If you're really good, you're good in Sweden, you should be good also in Russia, in Lithuania, and in other parts of the country.
I would like to just bring in one local example. In Riga, a roof of a Maxima supermarket broke and it killed a lot of people inside. And this happened because the state, because of the austerity politics, cancelled their state inspectors who were checking the constructions.
Exactly. That's now a big issue that government must take responsibility. You have, many governments, even construction companies are using subcontractors. They do subcontractors. They hire workers that are not skilled, are not capable, and they pay them very low. Of course, low pay, low quality of work. And we're saying that's wrong. You have a good quality of work, but you also have to pay workers in the right way. This is the situation, if you know, in Bangladesh, when the construction of a garments factory collapsed and 1,000 workers died. But these are the workers supplying H&M, Gap, Nike, But again, it's the workers there are being paid less, but at the same time, the building is so weak because it's made by a subcontractor, and they pay the workers, the subcontractors, very low wages. So this is the situation.
To continue on this engagement issue, your example of engaging people is really interesting, and the issue is very relevant in a country like Lithuania because the protest culture is only starting to show signs of life. How to engage people in the struggle and invite them to join, to unite, and it must be really hard to invite the precarious workers because they fear they could be expelled from whatever job they have, or they are afraid that they would not get the job if they are involved in the struggle. So to be able to protest, you have to be at least minimally secure. Would you agree? And what would be your advice? How to engage people? How to motivate them?
Okay, I think we should remember that the beginning of the trade union movement, people before, when they start organizing union, they never were secured. They were insecure. They have nothing. That's why they rise up, they organize, and they fought. That's why now we have benefits, and benefits not only in collective agreement, but it's in the law. That's why You have maternity leave, you have vacation leave, you have,
The 3-8.
sick leave, you have rights. It's because of the people who started. Now, if we don't do something about it, we will lose all those benefits. Now, I think we have to tell people there is no guarantee in the struggle. You have to fight now, and you have to fight for yourself. And we have to advise those who are secured. It will not be too long. You will too be insecure. You will be, there will be less and less. The statistics now is more than 50% of the workforce around the world are informal and precarious. And in some countries, it goes up to 90%. So the formal workers are very small now, and they will be eaten up. So for me, there's a call now to rethink unions, to reinvent trade unions, to innovate. Unions should not be a bureaucracy, an office, a structure. Unions should be people. Unions should be mobilizing. BWI, we negotiate with big companies, but we don't negotiate for the workers because we want the workers to fight for themselves. But we open the door for them. We don't go to the World Bank and tell them you give this salary to the workers. No. We tell them, give them right to organize. And then when the people organize, they fight. So for me, unionism would only be meaningful if you let the workers fight for themselves. This is not about one union leader who is a hero and I will represent you and fight for you. No, not anymore. This is going back to the history that the union members have to rise up and organize. But now we have to think, it's interesting because now the point is mobilize. And there are many ways now to mobilize. For young people, we can easily mobilize, and then you can use physical mobilization, you can use virtual mobilization, there's social media. Because before we said, the media is controlled by the elite, so we cannot. But now you have social media, so we should use that. So, for me, nothing to lose for the people. Your situation is insecure, you will still be insecure, you have to fight. No pain, no glory,
I have engaged in a brief discussion with a representative from a workers' union here in Lithuania, and she said that the worsening of the conditions for connected to the new labor code being pushed through in Lithuania might actually affect the worker unions in a way that more precarious people will be more unwilling, it is not necessarily that they will join the unions more if they are more precarious. So they might be, unwilling to pay the fees, the membership fees, and also there's a lot of pressure from the employers not to participate in this activity. Do you face these problems as well? And what is the
government
solution?
It's happening around the world. The government knows how to kill the union. Make them precarious. Remove the fees. That's how to kill the union. That's what's happening now in UK. They before this debate, they were debating a month ago about changing the trade union law, removing the right to strike. So they are really killing the union. They are killing the power of the union. They are removing the right of of the workers to strike.
So-
But should be a challenge for us. I think we need to think a new way of organizing the workers. We have to organize them, you know. The union has to open up its door to find a new way of organizing them. Otherwise, you'll be representing a smaller sector of society. And I think there's a way for that. We have example around the world. If I might give you example, the biggest union, one of the biggest union around the world is the women, you call it the SEWA, no? These are the women workers from India, self-employed women's association, 2.5 million members. So they organize, they control the market. So we have to reinvent the trade union. It's possible. That's the only way. So you can fight against this. Because privatization, flexibilization, precarious work will further weaken the union. But the union has to find its way to bring back again these workers and fight and change the situation. But at the end of the day, it's all about the workers. You can change any law, but the workers are the one who votes, you know. So it's very important.
So do you think because the law is being legally, the government is closing the possibility for the people to participate in this democratic process, at some point the law needs to be broken? Or you have to stay at that threshold of violating and not violating the law, like playing around with it, because otherwise you won't be able to do nothing.
Okay, I give you a nice, let's play on terminology. So we are into legal struggle. Now if the government changed the law, then your legal struggle become weak. You don't want to be illegal, right? The opposite of legal to be legal. And for us, what we call it, extra legal. You are not illegal, but you are looking at the universal rights, the constitutional rights of workers, you know. This should be argument. Demonstration, the right of people to demonstrate, the right of people for free speech, the right of people to organize what kind of organization they want. It's a right. It's not illegal, but it's guaranteed by the Constitution. So I think we should look at it from the perspective of, well, other will call it supralegal, no? But I call it extra-legal. So here, I believe you will not win the fight by just being legal, because they are changing the rules of the game. They are not fair. So you will not win that struggle. So you have to find a way. And for us, we call it extra-legal. Well, I want to add, you know, social dialogue. I think the Baltic countries have been already brainwashed by the concept of social dialogue by the European Union, you know. Because this was the frame following the World War II, no? That after that we have a social dialogue, we rebuild the nation. That's very good. But it doesn't exist now because social dialogue presupposes equal, you know, you're equal. But you are not equal. You are not equal. The capital and the politicians have made their alliances. The union are becoming so weak, and the law is in favor of the rich. So how can you have, so you don't negotiate on the position of weakness. You don't social dialogue.
So do you know that now in our new labor law, it's written, according to old labor law, it was written that employee is a weak side, as everywhere.
Yeah.
So now they wrote that employee is equal side with employer.
With employer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is totally
by law.
Yeah.
You cannot legislate equality, no?
So now so if we have some discussed situations, if we are going to court to finding of our rights, now we are equal sides. So this is the worst thing what can happen to the doctor.
Yeah, the government should be in favor of the weak, of those who don't have voice and those who don't have the power. But by putting it equal,
by law,
you're not equal.
Yes,
You know?
It
doesn't change necessarily the situation.
employee and employer never be equal.
Yeah,
Never at all.
yeah, never be
It's
equal.
different kind of powers. So, but it's a reality of the thing.
So does PWI also represent workers in Latvia and Estonia? Or
Yes, we are.
What is the situation there, and in general, the Eastern European worker conditions and European and world context?
He's the expert on that. No?
Now for Latvia, we are going there tonight, so we will find out more about it tomorrow. But in general, the situation in Central and Eastern, even Southeast Europe, is in terms of union density and representation quite alarming and dramatic. Because with all the precarious forms of employment on one side, second, the also flow of migration, simply the numbers of workers employed have reduced. The structure of employment has changed also. The privatization of companies led to mass redundancies. The introduction of free labor market and free economic market in a situation where no social protection was really in place, like in cases of bankruptcies, which was a mass phenomenon in all the countries. People felt desperate and went either into informal employment or stayed without jobs and in really poor living conditions. On the other side, people, or the same people at that time, let's say 20 years ago when the transition started, felt where is the union to defend us now? But the union was not anymore part of the previous system that dissolved, diminished. And there was a new system in place that was for profit and this market economy. So the perception of the, let's say, simple average worker was, oh, the union is coming, now they will solve our problem, was not there anymore. And it is not there. And there was serious confrontation of these people with the fact that they have to now, after all, do things by themselves. And that the union can then help them, but they must organize themselves. And I think in this whole period of transition, the, let's say, dominant approach and mainstream of individualism and not collectivism, and even collective bargaining, but everyone bargains for himself or for himself, led to, the, let's say, deterioration of the situation of people, especially construction, wood and forest. And there are still some, how should I say, good examples where unions succeed to fight back and preserve workers' rights, but they are under constant attack. And there is a urgent need for change of this situation, and mobilization and campaigning, because all these things about legal action, in form of complaints to court, complaints to employers, petitions, letter writing to governments. I remember now, for instance, there was even this, because we are also in the European Union here, there was even an initiative of a European trade union for the public service to ask for like a referendum about a problem that should be solved in another way than that was proposed. And they collected more than 1 million signatures, but it did not change. So I think there is need for work at the workplace, organizing, that workers organize themselves, that they are assisted, sometimes also guided, advised by the union on options, on advantages, disadvantages, because the unions have this competence, not the Works Council, that is being introduced in many countries of Central and Eastern Europe, copying the model of Germany, which in itself can be useful for workers because they are consulted and informed, but in a completely different, even constitutional setup of Germany. And that's why this copy-paste model, replacing or introducing like a new structure for workers that will protect their interests, is and will not work in this country and other countries. For this reason, we need a kind of new, innovative way to the future, and we will need to, while mentioning campaigning and mobilization, much more outreach to young people, young workers, students, other groups in the society, to get engaged in their workers' rights.
Dar turi klausimų? Jo, kiek laiko? Jau 45 minutes.
So do you think the problem, or if there's a specific, understanding or of the people who have freed themselves from the Soviet Union, because they were thinking that this action, this change will bring already democracy, which hasn't, and they were not prepared to fight further.
Yeah. And even the illusion about the democracy in the European Union.
Oh.
Yes, there is a parliamentarian, process and decision making, but still we don't see that it's really for the benefit, especially for the workers.
Do the European Union worker organizations do anything to
Yes,
improve
they
the
try
situation?
to improve the situation through legislative changes, the so-called directives, which are EU law then for all countries. And there is bipartite dialogue between the employers association at the European level and the workers organization, which is manifested in the like roof organizations, the Trade Union Confederation, the European Trade Union, and the business associations. But we have this also at the construction level and wood level, forest level. However, it is a very difficult process to get the wording first and to get it implemented. So to wait and expect that in Brussels it will be solved, I wouldn't wait for it. And I'm not even sure it will happen ever.
So what is the purpose of your visit to Lithuania and to the Baltics?
Well, first to, of course, find out about the current situation here in construction, wood and forest sectors, and to make an assessment how we can cooperate and support the union work here. And bring this also in the context of our broader approach to Central and Eastern Europe, like new strategies. And we have hopes for Lithuania, I think also for Latvia.
We have 3 calls. One is rebuild, reorganize, restore. Rebuild the union, it means organizing. Means you have to bring, the workers to join the union. That is very important. Many unions in Eastern Europe, they are called union, but their membership is 1,000, 2,000. It's not a union. You don't represent the workers if you don't have the numbers. Reorganize is we want to bring the union to the work site, because many of the unions some of them act as NGOs. They are just in their office, they are just lawyer lobbying with the government, but not really talking to the workers. We have to reorganize the union structure. We have to be closer on the ground. And number 3 is to restore the image. The image of the trade union is really negative. Especially in Lithuania, it still goes back to the time of the Soviet. Time has changed. Unions have new roles now, and I think the only way we can communicate, we can restore that image is to communicate to the public. So through campaigns, through communication, through popular means, so that they will again understand what the union means. Not the old-fashioned trade union movement, but a new, dynamic, innovative trade union.
Thank you very much.